Saudi Arabia is opening up to research thousands of never-before studied ancient sites.
This is an area that has had very little archaeological explorations. So we're kind of like explorers, really.
They're finding evidence of mysterious prehistoric ritual.
In a land rich with ancient traditions, an extraordinary discovery has emerged from the depths of Arabia, sending shockwaves through our understanding of history. This find challenges long-held beliefs and promises to transform our view of the past. What is it? Non-believers in Saudi Arabia have uncovered something that contradicts everything we've been told. Could this rewrite our history books? Deep into the heart of Saudi Arabia to explore this enigmatic relic that has left both religious and non-religious communities puzzled. We are Jesus Eternal Aura. In today's video, you will have appropriate answers to all the questions above. Before you know what happened, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and click the bell icon for all the latest updates.
The evidence is all around us that this is the true Mount Sinai. Now, I know there are many proposed locations for the Mountain of God.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a country in Western Asia, boasts a long and rich history, especially in terms of religion, particularly Islam. When thinking of Saudi Arabia, the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, which hold immense significance for Muslims, often come to mind. However, Christianity is also making surprising inroads into the country's religious landscape, especially with the emerging theory that Mount Sinai might actually be located within Saudi Arabia. Mount Sinai is a profoundly important site for the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This holy site attracts pilgrims from around the globe, eager to connect with their faith and walk in the footsteps of Moses. According to the Bible, Mount Sinai is where Moses received the 10 Commandments from God, foundational rules for Judaism and Christianity. The book of Exodus recounts how God summoned Moses to the mountaintop to receive these commandments inscribed on stone tablets. In Arabic, this mountain is referred to as Jebel Musa, meaning the Mountain of Moses. For Christians, Mount Sinai symbolizes not just the receiving of the commandments, but also offers a glimpse of the heavenly Mount Zion, a place where God dwells with his followers in all his glory. The Sermon on the Mount, delivered by Jesus, emphasizes understanding the spirit behind God's laws and living a life reflecting his goodness. The Bible also connects Mount Sinai to the Transfiguration, where Jesus' appearance was transformed in the presence of Moses and Elijah, reinforcing its sacred significance. For Jews, Mount Sinai is the holiest place on earth, marking a unique encounter with God where the spiritual and physical realms converged. This moment is central to Judaism, where the religion emphasizes daily connection with God. The story of Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac is also linked to this mountain, reinforcing the belief that Jews are God's chosen people, bound by a special covenant to follow his commandments. The book of Deuteronomy reiterates this covenant, reminding the Israelites of their promise to God and the importance of adhering to his laws. Thus, Mount Sinai stands as a powerful symbol of Jewish identity and their role as God's chosen people. In Islam, the Quran acknowledges the significance of Mount Sinai, noting it as the place where God communicated with Moses and provided the Torah. This mountain represents the divine connection and the importance of following God's commands. Islamic teachings highlight Moses' patience and obedience as he delivered God's message to the Pharaoh and the Israelites. The mountain also symbolizes God's mercy, as he forgave the Israelites and gave them new laws through Moses. Therefore, Mount Sinai holds a revered position in Islam, exemplifying the bond between humans and God and the imperative of staying true to his will. The exact location of Mount Sinai, however, remains a mystery. While traditionally identified with the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, some recent theories propose it might be in Saudi Arabia. This potential re-identification could have profound implications for religious history and pilgrimage practices. Across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, Mount Sinai is a shared symbol of faith, representing a profound connection to God. For Jews, it embodies the moment of divine revelation and their unique covenant with God. Christians view it as a precursor to heavenly glory and a testament to Jesus' teachings. For Muslims, it signifies divine communication and the importance of obedience to God's commands. Despite its elusive location, the towering peak of Mount Sinai continues to hold deep significance for the followers of these three major religions, symbolizing their shared heritage and spiritual journeys. Where exactly is this holy mountain located? The exact location of the holy mountain, traditionally known as Mount Sinai, has been a topic of debate for centuries. Historically, Mount Sinai has been placed in Egypt, near the southwestern tip of the country, close to the border with Israel. This majestic mountain, which rises nearly 7,500 feet above sea level, is considered a sacred site and hosts several significant religious landmarks. One of the most notable is St. Catherine's Monastery, nestled on the Sinai Peninsula. Founded in 527 AD by Emperor Justinian I, this monastery is one of the oldest continuously operating monasteries in the world. Its establishment was inspired by hermit monks who frequented and eventually settled in the area. St. Catherine's Monastery's legacy extends far beyond its age. It also houses the world's oldest continually operating library, containing ancient manuscripts and books dating back to the 4th century. The monastery's stunning Byzantine architecture and a collection of awe-inspiring icons draw pilgrims from all over the world. Within its walls lies the Chapel of the Burning Bush, believed to be the very spot where God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. For Christians worldwide, St. Catherine's Monastery is a significant pilgrimage destination. The monastery's history is rich and layered. During the Fatimid Caliphate, an existing chapel within the monastery was transformed into a mosque, which saw regular use by Muslims until the 13th century. Today, the mosque is used only for special occasions. After a period of neglect under the Ottoman Empire, the mosque was restored in the early 20th century. Despite the monastery's historical significance, the mystery of Mount Sinai's exact location remains unsolved, with ongoing debates among scholars. Historically, various sites across the Middle East have been proposed as the true Mount Sinai. Researchers meticulously analyze the Bible and historical texts for clues. One particularly controversial theory emerged in 1873 when Charles Beck, a British explorer and scholar, proposed that Mount Sinai was a volcano. He based this idea on biblical descriptions of smoke and fire emanating from the mountain, although not ash. Additionally, he believed its location fit Moses' journey from Midian in northwest Arabia back to Egypt. Becca focused on mountains near the Gulf of Aqaba, particularly Jabal al-Lawz, also known as the Mountain of Light. However, upon reaching his proposed site, Becca discovered it wasn't volcanic. He humbly retracted his volcanic hypothesis, but maintained his belief about the location, suggesting that the biblical references might describe a storm rather than a permanent feature. This highlighted the difficulty of pinpointing the mountain's true location. While some scholars interpret the Bible metaphorically, others embraced Beck's ideas. Alternative locations like Egypt, Jordan, and Israel have also been suggested. Sadly, Beck's death soon after visiting Jabal al-Lawz prevented further exploration and potential confirmation of his theory. Scholars such as Alois Musil and H. St. John Philby supported Beck's notion of a Saudi Arabian location. Musil, an Austrian-Czech scholar, extensively explored the region in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Philby, a British intelligence officer deeply involved in the Middle East, documented his travels in books like The Heart of Arabia and Arabian Highlands. Both pointed to Jabal al-Manifa, near Wadi al-Ab, as the true Mount Sinai. After visiting Jabal al-Lawz in 1952, Philby argued that Jabal al-Manifa better matched the biblical descriptions compared to locations in Egypt or Jordan. In 1971, French scholar Jean Koenig suggested that Halal Badr, a volcanic peak in Saudi Arabia, might be the true location of Mount Sinai. He detailed his arguments in an article titled Sinaitic Itineraries in Arabia, asserting the accuracy of his interpretation. Building on the work of earlier researchers such as Charles Beck, Alois Musil, and H. St. John Philby, Koenig provided a thorough collection of evidence and reasoning. Despite the strength of his argument, an even more controversial proposal has gained attention. In recent years, another theory has emerged, proposing that Mount Sinai is located in northwest Saudi Arabia. This idea, supported by some contemporary researchers, suggests that Jabal al-Lawz is the actual site. Proponents of this theory argue that the geographical and archaeological evidence aligns more closely with the biblical account. This location is controversial because it challenges the traditional identification of Mount Sinai on the Sinai Peninsula and suggests a significant rethinking of biblical geography. The mystery of Mount Sinai's exact location continues to captivate scholars and believers alike. Whether in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, or another proposed site, the quest to find this sacred mountain underscores the enduring significance of Mount Sinai in the religious histories of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Who was founded? Ron Wyatt, an American researcher known for his contentious and widely debated theories, proposed several unconventional ideas regarding biblical archaeology. Wyatt's theories gained significant attention, particularly his belief that Mount Sinai was located in Saudi Arabia. However, he identified a different site than traditionally accepted, pointing to Jabal al-Lawz, or the Mountain of Almonds, in northwest Saudi Arabia, near the Jordanian border and the Gulf of Aqaba. Theories and discoveries. Wyatt's hypothesis was rooted in his interpretation of Exodus 3:1, which describes Moses tending the flocks of Jethro, a priest of Midian. Wyatt reasoned that the mountain of God Moses encountered had to be within the land of Midian, placing it in modern-day Saudi Arabia. His journey to this conclusion began in 1978 when he claimed to have discovered the Red Sea crossing site at Nuweiba, along the Gulf of Aqaba. Following this, Wyatt concluded that the true Mount Sinai must be located east of the Red Sea crossing site, within the mountain ranges of western Saudi Arabia. Jabal al-Lawz, the highest peak in the region, became his prime candidate. To substantiate his claims, Wyatt pointed to what he considered archaeological evidence of a large encampment near the mountain, which he suggested was where the Israelites camped before their exodus. Additionally, he found a large pile of granite rocks decorated with images of bulls, cows, and oxen, located about a quarter mile from the mountain's base. Wyatt theorized that this could be the very altar mentioned in the story of the Golden Calf, built by the Israelites at the foot of Mount Sinai. Wyatt's enthusiasm extended beyond these discoveries. He connected his proposed Red Sea crossing site to what he believed were remnants of Pharaoh's chariots on the seabed. He interpreted the ash-covered mountaintop as evidence of the biblical fire of God and a massive split rock as proof of a powerful water flow. Further, he discovered 12 stone pillars beneath the mountain and other artifacts, which he believed were linked to the Israelites' time near the mountain and their exodus from Egypt. Skepticism and criticism. Despite the intriguing nature of Wyatt's discoveries, his theories have faced significant skepticism from scholars for several reasons. First, Wyatt was not a formally trained archaeologist. His research was conducted independently, and his methods lacked the rigorous structure and documentation expected in professional archaeology. Wyatt did not publish his findings in peer-reviewed journals, where experts critically evaluate research before it is made public. Instead, he shared his information based on personal interpretations, often leading to disputes within the academic community. Second, Wyatt's unconventional methods led to conflicts with authorities. His activities, which included trespassing and collecting artifacts, resulted in his arrest and imprisonment by the Saudi Arabian government on suspicion of espionage. These legal issues further undermined the credibility of his work. Third, some biblical scholars argue about the interpretation of the term Arabia in the New Testament passage, Galatians 4:25. The Apostle Paul mentions Mount Sinai being in Arabia. However, it is important to consider that Arabia, on maps from the 1st century AD, referred to a much larger area than modern-day Saudi Arabia. This broader region included the Sinai Peninsula, northern Egypt, and the Arabian Peninsula itself. This wider definition challenges the notion that Mount Sinai must be located specifically within the borders of modern Saudi Arabia. If Paul was referencing a map of his time, Arabia could have encompassed not only Saudi Arabia, but also other regions, creating a vast desert area that complicates Wyatt's theory. Saudi Arabia's ancient ecosystem. While exploring the fascinating discoveries in Saudi Arabia, it is important to recognize the region's historical and ecological context. Saudi Arabia, known today for its vast deserts, once boasted lush greenery and vibrant ecosystems. Historical and scientific evidence reveals a bygone era of rich vegetation and diverse wildlife. The Quran, the Islamic holy book revealed to Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century CE, offers glimpses into this past. Its verses celebrate the wonders of creation, including plants and their roles in the natural world. This focus on flora aligns with historical accounts by prominent figures like Herodotus, Josephus, and Pliny the Elder. These ancient scholars and travelers described a land brimming with life, featuring lush mountains, fertile valleys, flowing rivers, and forests. Their records suggest a region rich with vegetation that supported trade and flourished due to its abundant resources. Scientific research supports these historical accounts through the study of fossils. Remnants of ancient life, including plants and animals, provide a window into Earth's history. Fossil discoveries in Saudi Arabia paint a picture of a diverse ecosystem once teeming with life. Fossils of elephants, hippos, and crocodiles indicate well-watered environments and a flourishing habitat. Additionally, the presence of seahorse fossils suggests shallow coastal waters rich in marine life. Satellite imagery and fossil evidence across the Arabian Peninsula, dating back at least 350,000 years, overwhelmingly suggest a period of much higher rainfall and a more verdant landscape. Plant fossils found in various locations like Dumat al-Jandal and Jizan substantiate this theory. These fossils encompass a remarkable range of flora, including ferns, cycads, palms, grasses, legumes, and a variety of flowering plants. Their presence spans diverse geological periods, highlighting the rich tapestry of vegetation that once graced Saudi Arabia. Human history and archaeology. The story of Saudi Arabia extends far beyond its current desert landscapes. Human fossils scattered across the region offer a captivating glimpse into the origins and evolution of humankind. These preserved bones and artifacts left by our ancestors tell stories of migration, cultural development, and interaction with the environment. Sites like Kalambo Falls, Al Maidan, and Al Ula have yielded a treasure trove of evidence, including stone tools, pottery, inscriptions, and structures. These remains date back to various epochs of human history, ranging from the Lower Paleolithic period, approximately 400,000 years ago, to the Neolithic period, around 10,000 years ago. Adding another layer to this captivating story are the discoveries of ancient marine environments. The presence of coral reefs and seagrass beds points towards a time when Saudi Arabia's waters were clear, warm, and teeming with life. These marine structures, dating back millions of years, thrived in nutrient-rich environments that provided shelter and sustenance for diverse marine creatures. This aligns with the growing theme of surprising revelations unearthed in this region. One of the most remarkable discoveries involves a network of ancient roads and tombs dating back 4,500 years. Archaeologists have dubbed these pathways funerary avenues. Located in the northwestern deserts, these long-distance routes connected oases and pastures, some stretching for hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. Cleverly designed, they followed natural rain and water sources, ensuring safe passage through the vast landscape. Lining these avenues are unique tombs referred to as pendants or ring burials. Pendants are circular stone structures with distinctive tails extending perpendicular to the avenue, while ring burials are circular enclosures with low stone walls, typically around 2 meters high and 20 meters long. These fascinating tombs hold the remains of our ancestors and their grave goods, offering a window into their lives and burial practices. The mysteries of Musta. Amidst these captivating discoveries, Saudi Arabian archaeologists have also unearthed a find that sheds light on a more mysterious aspect of the region's past. Deep within a 7,000-year-old desert monument, they encountered human remains associated with a prehistoric cult. This ritual site, known as a mustatil, meaning rectangle in Arabic, is one of over 1,600 such structures identified across Saudi Arabia since the 1970s. Buried beneath layers of sand, these enigmatic constructions were built during a period when the Arabian desert was far greener, teeming with grasslands and even home to elephants and hippos. The architects of these mustatils appear to have been members of a secretive cult. As the climate gradually transformed into the arid desert we know today, these individuals likely gathered at these sites to protect their land. Archaeological evidence suggests that their rituals involve sacrificing cattle to appease unknown deities. A recent excavation, documented in a study published in March 2024, unearthed a mustatil located 55 kilometers east of the ancient city of Al Ula. This impressive structure, stretching 140 meters and built from local sandstone, held a prominent upright stone known as a betel at its center. Surrounding this central stone lay a collection of over 260 animal skull and horn fragments, primarily belonging to domesticated cattle. Traces of goat, gazelle, and smaller ruminant remains were also found, offering valuable clues about the rituals practiced by this long-lost community. Further exploration of the mustatil revealed an intriguing feature. A specific burial chamber style known as a cist, used during the Neolithic and Bronze Ages across regions like Europe and the Middle East. Radiocarbon dating, a technique used to determine the age of organic material, was applied to both the human remains and the animal bones found around the beetle. Intriguingly, the results revealed a discrepancy. The man's burial occurred approximately 400 years after the animals were sacrificed. This fascinating detail suggests that the Musta likely served as a pilgrimage site for an extended period. Generations of the same community, or perhaps even different groups, may have returned to this location for ritualistic purposes, highlighting the enduring significance of these structures for their creators. The continued use of the Musta long after the initial animal sacrifices points to the deeply ingrained role these rituals played in the lives of these ancient peoples. The discovery of such sites offers a compelling glimpse into the spiritual and cultural practices of prehistoric communities in the Arabian Peninsula, enriching our understanding of human history in this. Rarely exposed. Humans may have been drawn to the area as they tracked large mammals who would potentially serve as prey. Surveys and analysis of fossils recovered from the site also shows that there are no stone tools or butchery of fossils. This indicates that the footprint makers only very briefly visited the lake, foraging for resources before continuing on their journey. It is not clear what happened to the people who left the footprints, but evidence suggests that they, along with the other early Homo sapiens explorers, either died out or retreated to more favorable environments as aridity returned to the desert. The significance of Mount Sinai. The Israelites are led from captivity in Egypt to Mount Sinai by God, leading them as a cloud in the day and a fire at night. God tells Moses to climb the mountain, and it is on the mount that God offers a covenant to the Israelite people. The people see lightning and clouds and hear God saying the 10 Commandments to Moses. This experience is terrifying for the Israelites. Afterward, they ask not to hear God's voice, but to obey whatever God speaks to Moses. Moses agrees and returns to the mountaintop on his own. When he returns to the mountaintop, God gives the law to Moses. Moses then returns and shares these laws with the people before putting them in writing. Later, Moses is told to go up the mountain again to receive 2 stone tablets written by God. When he goes up, God first gives him instructions on how to construct the tabernacle, and Moses stays on the mountain for 40 days. While Moses is gone, the people create a golden calf to worship in place of God. Moses receives the stone tablets and is about to descend the mountain when God tells him that the Israelites have been unfaithful. Therefore, God will let them perish. Moses delays his return and asks God not to destroy them. When he descends, he breaks the tablets and destroys the calf. Once the crisis passes, God commands Moses to create a new set of tablets and climb the mountain for God to inscribe them. When Moses finally descends again, the Israelites meet him with fear because his face reflects the radiance of God. Mount Sinai was a sacred place where Moses went to physically be with God while leading the Israelites from their captivity. This mountain has 3 other names that help define the significance of the location. First is Har Ha-Elohim, which means the mountain of God. The second is Har Bashan, or with the teeth. This means that humankind, through the virtue of this mountain, receives sustenance. The third name is Har Gabnunim, which means the mountain of the sword, because the Sanhedrin was given the right to sentence a person to death through this mountain. Sinai's primary significance comes from the fact that it is the place where God gave the law to his people. Mountains are referenced throughout Scripture. God tends to show up to people on mountains. Throughout the Old Testament, God invites people to meet him on the mountain. Noah is rescued from the flood on a mountain. Moses encounters God on the mountain, and God appears to Elijah on Mount Horeb. These are just a few examples of how the high places are singled out as a meeting place with the Lord. In the New Testament, Jesus retreats to the mountains for rest and reflection, appoints his 12 disciples on a mountainside, preaches on the Mount of Olives, and dies on a hill outside of Jerusalem. When Jesus is resurrected, he meets his disciples on a mountain in Galilee. So much of Jesus' life was spent on a mountain. Mountains are stable and unmoving, and God wants us to be reminded that he is the same for all time. We can depend on him. On the other hand, Jesus speaks of mountains being moved by our faith, which is mentioned in Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. This is impossible by human standards, but God wants us to know that with him, all things are possible. God appears to Moses in a predictable, unmoving location, but he does the impossible when he provides his people with a new covenant that promises our sure identity as God's chosen people. In our own lives, we find moments in which we see God so clearly at work, just as Moses did on the mountaintop. We also experience other seasons, such as the Israelite people did, where we feel God is distant and begin to build our own idols to worship. We can see ourselves in each of the characters that we read about in this ancient story and find comfort when reminded that God's presence and plan are reliable. He can do the impossible even when we are stuck in the valley. He is still finding a way forward for us on the mountain. These archaeological discoveries eloquently confirm the authenticity of God's Word, providing a new energy to biblical apologetics over the most momentous event of the Old Covenant. With the exception of the time of Christ's earthly ministry, more public miracles of God's mighty hand took place in the Exodus and at Mount Sinai than at any other place or time in history.